no dialogue. Optional soft voiceover. Every morning, the same ritual. Every morning, the same prayer. Optional whispers. What's this about? Something's wrong. Never seen this before. Marcus's voice. Security footage points to David Carter. Sound cutting out, slightly emphasizing shock. Eleanor's voice. Why are you leaving? Simple question that changes everything. Eleanor. David Carter was wrongly accused. Security footage has proven his innocence. He's been promoted to Regional Training Director. David Carter had worked for the same company for 12 years. Every morning, he woke at 5 o'clock, showered, put on a work shirt, and picked up the same worn lunch bag his daughter had given him in middle school. He kept his father's old watch on his left wrist, a blue-faced watch that had stopped keeping accurate time years ago, but he wore it anyway, because it was the last tangible thing his father had given him before the cancer took him. That watch had become a ritual. Every morning he'd touch it and think of his father's voice. Be the man of your family. For 15 years, that's what he had done. When his wife left, when she decided that being a single mother was too hard and walking away was easier, David had picked up that burden and carried it alone. Maya was 3. He was 33. The world told him he couldn't do it. Statistics said his daughter would struggle. Society had ideas about what a single black father could and couldn't provide. He provided anyway. He worked the warehouse floor for Hendrix Logistics, a regional distribution company based in Atlanta. He'd started as a junior operations associate, the kind of entry-level position that went nowhere if you didn't know anyone. But David had something most entry-level employees didn't have: reliability. He showed up. He stayed. He learned everything about the job, not just his small piece of it. When younger employees struggled, he trained them on his own time without asking for credit. When someone called in sick, David covered the shift. When the company faced crisis, David was the one management called first. 12 years meant something, or so he thought. On this Tuesday morning in March, David arrived at the warehouse at 6:30, as he always did. The sun was still thinking about rising. He parked in his regular spot, grabbed his lunch bag, and walked through the employee entrance. The warehouse was quiet, just the hum of the climate control and the distant sound of a forklift being tested. David logged in at his station and began his morning routine, reviewing overnight shipments, checking inventory reports, preparing for the day shift handoff. At 7:45, he received a message on the warehouse communication system. Marcus Webb, the regional operations director, had called an all-hands meeting. Everyone. 9 o'clock, the warehouse floor. David didn't think much of it. Meetings happened. Usually they were about safety initiatives or policy changes. He finished his morning preparations and headed to the break room to wait. That's where he found Jeremy, one of the younger warehouse associates, maybe 23, eager, still learning. Hey, Mr. Carter, did you finish checking those pallets I staged yesterday? Jeremy asked. Already done this morning, David said. They're good to go. Nice work on the organization. Whoever taught you to stack like that knew what they were doing, Jeremy grinned. You did, sir, like 2 months ago, David smiled. Then you learned well. That was the kind of interaction that had defined his 12 years. Not management, not authority, mentoring, seeing people, helping them become better at what they did. He'd trained 17 people who had moved up in the company. He'd never asked for credit, never reminded anyone of the time he'd invested in them. By 8:50, people began gathering on the warehouse floor. The energy felt different this time, uncertain. There was tension in how people clustered together. Nobody knew what this meeting was about. Marcus Webb walked out to the center of the space at exactly 9 o'clock. He had 2 HR representatives with him and 2 security guards positioned near the exits. David's stomach tightened. This was not a standard safety meeting. We've discovered some serious losses in our inventory, Marcus announced, his voice authoritative and cold. Equipment valued at nearly $80,000 has gone missing from this facility. When we investigated, security footage pointed to one individual. Marcus paused and his eyes found David. David Carter. The warehouse went silent. What? David said, stepping forward. That's not proof, Marcus continued, speaking over him. Security footage shows you accessing the equipment storage area at unusual hours and removing merchandise. Given the severity of this breach of trust, effective immediately, you're terminated for theft. Security will escort you from the building. David felt the room tilt. Sir, I don't know what footage you're looking at, but that's not. I haven't taken anything. I've never. His voice was shaking. He wasn't a man who raised his voice in anger. He wasn't a man who created scenes. His entire identity was built on being steady and reliable. But this was impossible. This was a lie. Can I see the footage? Can we discuss? You're terminated, Marcus said flatly. Security is here to ensure your cooperation. One of the security guards approached. David looked around the warehouse. 300 people. He knew most of them by name. He trained half of them. They were all staring at him with expressions of shock and confusion. He could see them processing. David Carter? The reliable guy? The one who trained everyone? He was being escorted out like a criminal. David didn't fight. That wasn't who he was. He set down the papers in his hand, turned to the security guard, and said quietly, "I'll walk with you." He picked up his lunch bag, the worn bag his daughter had given him, and walked toward the exit with his head up and his shoulders straight. He refused to shuffle. He refused to look defeated. Even if he felt like his entire life was collapsing, he would not give them the image of a broken man. But his hands were shaking. He was almost to his car when he heard the sound of another vehicle pulling into the lot. A black SUV, an expensive one. The door opened, and Eleanor Hayes stepped out. Eleanor Hayes was 71 years old. She had started Hendricks Logistics in 1974 with nothing but an idea and a pickup truck. She'd built it into a $50 million regional operation. She still visited each facility regularly. Not often, but regularly enough that people knew she cared about what happened in her company. She looked at David, then at the security guards flanking him, and her expression shifted to something like confusion. "Why is David leaving with security?" she asked directly. "What happened?" Marcus Webb, who had followed David to the parking lot, stepped forward. "Eleanor, this employee was caught on security footage stealing company equipment. I've terminated him for cause. It's handled." Eleanor looked at David. Her eyes were sharp, intelligent. She was studying him like someone studying evidence. "David Carter? Who's been here for 12 years? "Yes," David said quietly. "I was just fired. I don't know what footage Mr. Webb is referring to, but I assure you, I've never stolen anything from this company." Eleanor turned back to Marcus. "Show me the footage." "Eleanor, I've reviewed it personally. I have the evidence. Show me the footage," she repeated, in a tone that made it clear this was not a request. David went home. He sat in his car in the driveway of his small house in a quiet neighborhood, just holding the steering wheel, unable to make himself go inside. How was he supposed to tell Maya? His daughter was 16 and brilliant and had just started to trust that she'd get into a good college because he had the savings account growing. How was he supposed to tell her that in 2 hours his career had been obliterated? He touched his father's watch. The hands pointed to 10:47, a time it had stopped at years ago. Nothing about the watch worked anymore. It was just a symbol now, a symbol of his father's words. "Be the man of your family." He was failing. Meanwhile, Eleanor Hayes was in Marcus Webb's office, and she was watching the security footage from the night the equipment went missing. She watched the timestamp. She watched the angle. She watched as an external contractor, a man she didn't recognize, came through the loading dock door with a key card that shouldn't have been in his possession, loaded equipment onto his own truck, and drove away. She watched for 45 seconds, and in those 45 seconds, she realized that Marcus Webb had lied. She called Marcus into the office. "This footage shows an external contractor stealing the equipment. This has nothing to do with David Carter." Marcus's face went pale. I must have misread the footage. The angles can be confusing." "No," Eleanor said quietly. "You read it fine. You lied. And you fired a loyal employee without evidence to cover up the fact that you failed to properly oversee this facility." She picked up her phone. "I'm calling security." Within 2 hours, Eleanor had reviewed the full security system. Within 4 hours, she'd spoken to the contractor company and discovered that this man had been fired 3 weeks earlier for theft and had used an old access card he'd retained. Within 6 hours, she had documented everything. By late afternoon, Eleanor called David. "I want to apologize," she said without preamble. "Marcus Webb lied about the security footage. The theft had nothing to do with you. I've terminated Marcus's employment, and I'm offering you your position back, effective immediately. You'll also receive back pay for today, plus a severance package for Marcus's actions." David sat on his couch, the phone to his ear, not fully processing what he was hearing. Thank you. But, however," Eleanor continued, "I'd like to discuss something else with you. Your personnel file shows that you've turned down 3 promotion offers in 12 years. Why?" David thought about this question. It was honest. It deserved an honest answer. "Because the promotions would have meant leaving the warehouse floor and administrative work that kept me out of Atlanta by 5:15 p.m. My daughter was younger then. I needed to be home. And now?" Eleanor asked. "Now she's 16 and becoming independent, but the habit stuck. I still prioritize being present when she needs me." There was a long pause. "We're starting a new position," Eleanor said. "Regional Training Director. It would be a promotion, but with flexibility. You could design your own schedule around your daughter's needs. You'd mentor managers across all facilities. You'd report directly to me. It's a meaningful role with meaningful pay. David's throat tightened. Can I think about it? Of course, Eleanor said. But David, I want you to know something. In 30 years of running this company, I've learned that the people who show up, who do the hard work without complaint, who lift up the people around them, those are the people who build lasting things. What Marcus did to you today was cowardly. What you've done for 12 years is honorable. That matters. That evening, David told Maya everything. He told her about the false accusation. He told her about Eleanor's investigation. He told her about being fired and then unfired. He told her about the job offer. And he told her the truth that he should have told her years ago. When your mom left, I was terrified, he said. I was 33 years old and I had no idea how to raise a daughter alone. The world said I couldn't do it, so I worked to prove them wrong. I took extra shifts, I turned down promotions. I showed up every single day, even when I was exhausted. Because I needed you to know that you mattered more than anything else. Maya had tears in her eyes. Dad, I never asked you to sacrifice like that. I know, David said. But that's what fathers do. We carry the weight. Sometimes without asking if we should. That's not fair, Maya said quietly. No, David agreed. It's not. Which is why I'm making a change. I'm taking Eleanor's job offer. I'm going to be a regional training director. The pay will be better, and I'm negotiating for flexibility. I'm going to be more present. Not because I'm less dedicated to my work, but because I've learned that presence is more valuable than sacrifice. Maya hugged him. You've always been the best dad. The following week, David returned to the warehouse, not as a terminated employee, but as someone vindicated. Eleanor stood beside him as they entered, and when they walked into the space, everyone was waiting. Eleanor addressed the group. Misinformation was spread about David Carter's departure. He was wrongly accused based on false testimony. Security footage has confirmed his innocence. David's termination has been reversed, and he'll be moving into a new role as regional training director, effective immediately. Anyone who doubted David's character was misled. He is being promoted because that's what he deserves. She turned to Marcus's old office, which was already being emptied. Marcus Webb has been terminated for multiple violations, including fraud and defamation of an employee. The warehouse applauded, but David's focus was elsewhere. He was looking at Jeremy, the young guy who'd asked him about the pallets that last morning. Jeremy was grinning. He understood. Mr. Carter had been proven right. Mr. Carter had been protected. The good guy had won. David walked over to Jeremy, still interested in that management track we talked about. Jeremy's face lit up. Really? Really, David said. Starting next week, I want you in the evening training sessions. We're going to build your skills. As David walked through the warehouse that day, he wasn't invisible anymore. But he wasn't visible because he'd been vindicated in front of everyone. He was visible because he'd always been there. And now people were finally seeing it clearly. That evening, he sat at his kitchen table with Maya and showed her a spreadsheet. This is our college fund, he said, and this is what I've saved from my new salary over the past week. Combined, you're going to be able to choose any college you want. No loans, no compromises. Maya looked at her father. You did this on your own? No, David said. I did this for you. There's a difference. David didn't get his 12 years back. He couldn't undo the hours of work that took him away from his daughter's childhood. He couldn't undo the public humiliation or the hours of fear that followed. But he got something else. He got clarity about what truly mattered. He got proof that his integrity mattered. He got evidence that his sacrifices had been seen, even when he felt invisible. And more importantly, he got the chance to redefine success not as perfect sacrifice, but as presence combined with purpose. Eleanor Hayes called him into her office 6 months into his new role. I wanted to show you something, she said, pulling up a spreadsheet. In the past 6 months, your training program has produced 4 promotions among the warehouse staff. Employee retention in your division is up 15%, and morale is the highest I've seen in 5 years. David nodded, but his focus was on something else. On his watch, on his father's words, on the choice he'd made. I have one question, Eleanor said. Looking back at that day in the parking lot, what do you think would have changed if I hadn't questioned Marcus's version? David thought about this carefully. Everything would have changed, he said. My daughter would have carried guilt about the time she didn't spend with me, thinking she'd been asking too much. My reputation would have been destroyed. I probably would have struggled to find work elsewhere, and Marcus would have gotten away with cowardice. Eleanor nodded. That's why I'm telling you, always question the easy narrative. Always investigate before accepting blame. And always check the security footage. David smiled. I'll remember that. But what he remembered most, long after that conversation, was the morning Eleanor pulled into the parking lot and simply asked a question. Why are you leaving? Sometimes that's all it takes. One person who notices, one person who questions, one person who bothers to look deeper, one person who chooses to see.